Hi friends, this is Eddie with Heart for Healing Ministries, and I'd like to start this video off in prayer. So if you would join me with prayer, we'll get started. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come before you in the mighty name of Jesus. We just ask that this message would be for all of us, that you give us something special to hear that would permeate our hearts with your truth and help us to better align our will and our life over with you. I'd ask that you'd speak to me. As you speak through me, you'd let the meditation of my own heart be acceptable in your sight, God, my strength, my rock, and my redeemer. In Jesus' name, amen. Before I start talking about the message, I'd like to start off by talking about who this message is not for. If everything in your life is going exactly the way that you want, your relationships with your boss, your relationships with your coworkers, your relationships with the people around you, your relationship with yourself, your inner self, your mind, your heart, your emotions, and you're living in gratitude all the time. You're not struggling with things like resentment or the direction your life is going, future tripping, worrying about the future, living in anxiety and stress, and you just don't know what you're going to do with your life. You don't know what you're going to go to school for. You don't have any idea, and you're just worrying about all of these things, and your life is going perfect, and you're going in the exact direction you want things to go. You can make a list of what you're going to do with your day, and you're going to do all the things that you say you're going to do, and when you lay your head down at night, you're really happy with all of the things that you did throughout the day. If that's you, like if your life is just going perfect and you don't have any of these personal struggles, and you're exactly who you want to be, and you're not looking to make any changes to yourself, you're not fighting any battles, and you're not looking to overcome or get any additional victories in your life, if that's you, then this message is not for you. But if you have any habits that you're looking to change, if you're looking to level up, if you're struggling with resentments and you're struggling with your job, you don't like your job, you don't like a coworker, you don't exactly have everything going the way that you want it to in life, then this message is for you. If this message is for you, if you're struggling, and I want to start it off by talking about a quote from Zig Ziglar, because if that's you, if you're struggling at work, man, and you don't like your job, and you don't like your coworkers, and you don't like your boss, and you're in this place of irritableness, restlessness, and discontent, and usually in my experience, when we're irritable, restless, and discontent, and we're in that ingratitude, and we've got something to complain about, whether or not somebody cut us off on the freeway, or we've been at a stoplight for a really long time, the problem's almost never our external circumstance. It's our attitude towards it. It's our attitude towards our job that's the problem. It's our attitude towards our coworkers that's the problem. It's our attitude toward our life and ourselves and the people around us that are usually the problem, and we're usually the ones making our own selves miserable, and we end up being the primary weapon formed against our own self that's setting us up to fail at our job, not get the promotions or the success or whatever it is that we're looking for. Zig Ziglar said, it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that ultimately determines your altitude. And what he meant by that is it's not really about your particular skill set. It's not about the people around you, or how good you are or how good they are. It's the primary factor that determines whether or not you're going to be successful at your job or your relationships or whatever it is. It's the attitude that you bring towards it. So like, your job isn't the problem. The amount of money that you're making isn't necessarily the problem, although it probably could be, but it's your attitude towards your situation. It's your attitude towards your job, your coworkers. That's the problem. And this is where the message, and when I talk about prayer, the message that I'm talking about right now is about prayer, and that's really where prayer comes into play, because prayer, I believe, isn't so much about changing the external circumstance. It's not about asking God for a different job. It's about trying to ask God to help us have the heart towards our situation, our job, or the people around us that He'd actually like us to have. So it's more about becoming the person that He wants us to be, rather than asking God to change the people around us to be who we want them to be. So that's what prayer, I feel like, is primarily about. And I want to talk about some of the ways I've even seen that happen in my own life, because I've had prayer really do for me what I can't do for myself. And one example is at my last job, and it was the first time, because like in the past, the way all of my jobs would work out is I'd work really hard, and so I thought, and I'd really want that raise, I'd want that promotion, and then I'd always see other people get it, and then I'd even see like the new guys, they'd come in and they'd start making more money than me, and it's like this vicious cycle of things not going my way, not going the way that I want them to. And then I'd have problems with my coworkers, I'd have problems with my boss, and then I'd constantly complain. It was never, oh, I have a great job, this or that. Like there was always something wrong with the people around me. There was always something wrong with my boss or my job, and I would try to control them, and I'd ask them to change, and I'd ask my boss to change, and I'd explain to him, you know, why he's wrong to give that more person money. And then he'd have to sit me down and tell me how I'm a child because I'm throwing a temper tantrum. And he was absolutely right to do that. But like for the first time in my life, you know, in my last job, I was working real hard. And this is kind of towards this low point in my life where I was really working really hard at trying to climb up out of the deepest, darkest moments of my life. And it's like, it was like a last chance too. It was a last chance at life, a last ditch effort to really be the person that I felt like God wanted me to be, to do esteemable things with my life that I just couldn't figure out how to do. And I was really trying to do it with his help this time. And so like there was this extra weight of like, if it doesn't work out this time, you know, if like one more try, you know, that I'm not going to repeat this vicious cycle, because I don't want to live like this anymore. And sure enough, it's like things actually started to go real good. You know, I climbed up the ladder of success, and I got these raises and these promotions, and then I was like welding the big ticket items, and I was like, man, it's like it's finally happening. And I was getting all this good feedback, and my boss was like, oh, Eddie, you're doing such a great job, and just keep doing what you're doing. And I was honestly had this fear on board, because I'm like always still wondering, it's like, man, when is it all going to come crumbling down, you know what I mean? Because I couldn't trust the people around me, but it's like I did it anyway because I was trying to trust God. And they bring in this new guy, and they give him my job, and they take me off of the welder without saying anything, and then they just throw me down to have me grinding the really small parts, and I'm grinding, and I just felt absolutely betrayed, because it's like I was doing exactly what I was told. My boss said to just keep doing what I was doing. I was doing great, and I was welding, and I was making the money to prove it. And then all of a sudden, it's like I wasn't even there that long, and then I just lost the job, and the new guy took over, and I really didn't understand what was going on. And then I had this huge resentment, because it's like I wanted to be the welder. That's the position that I wanted. I wanted to be the guy, and then they just took me off and they gave it to somebody else. And so I had this huge resentment, and I felt hurt, and I felt betrayed. I felt lied to by my boss, because my boss told me to just keep doing what I was doing. And so I really didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to feel. But the last thing I wanted to do is what I'd always done, and that was act on my feelings. That was the last thing I wanted to do. And for the first time in my life, man, I really just took all of that to God, and I prayed. And it's one of the things, it's my favorite Bible verses, where Jesus says to bless those who persecute you, you know, to pray for your enemies. And I prayed for this guy. I prayed for my boss. I prayed for my coworker, and I prayed for God to just bless them. And I went over and I looked at his work, you know, I'd go over there and I'd say hi, and I'd like, wow, this guy's a really good welder. And I'd even say it to that face, it's like, man, dude, you're really good at this. And I'd start bringing him food, and I'd start bringing him drinks, and I just asked God to prosper him. And I asked God to help me have the heart that he wanted me to have towards this situation. I asked him to help me trust him and be patient, you know, just trust that he had a plan. And as I prayed, and it didn't go away right away, but it's like over time what happened is, as I started to pray for that guy to have a heart of love towards him, and then I actually went out and did it and loved him, eventually God healed me of my resentment, and my heart started to match my prayer life and my actions towards him and my boss. And what ended up happening is, it's like nothing changed. I didn't ever get my job back as a welder. That was the last day that I had ever welded there. And I worked there for at least another year after that, and I never welded again. And that was actually kind of tough for me. But what I found is that I actually wound up being perfectly okay with that, and God healed me of my resentment, and I started to build relationships with that guy. I built a better relationship with my boss, and I built a relationship with God, and I didn't do anything I regret. And it turns out that they were transitioning me out of the shop altogether, and I wound up being a truck driver, and then I started driving our truck to and from Seattle, and it wound up being a much better gig, and it wasn't even something I was looking to do. I'd only just got my license. I hadn't ever driven a car before. It's like, and it's just an example of how it's like, you don't know what God's plan is. You don't know what God has in store for you, and a lot of times it's what you least expect. But God's plan is ultimately better than ours, and we need that prayer to help cultivate a heart of trust. And it's like, oh man, I was on Facebook earlier today, and I was looking at these quotes, and I ran across, and there's all these different Facebook groups, right? And one of them is Dreams for Success, and it's another really good quote. And the quote goes something like, things really changed for me when I started listening to myself less, and I started talking to myself more. And so for me, the natural voice in my head, if I don't take time to start my day off in prayer and invite God into it to direct my thinking, if I'm not asking God to relieve me of my resentments, and I'm not constantly in that prayer, then those resentments and things, those are just going to form naturally. Like, my natural instinct is to wake up, not necessarily want to go to work, to be tired, to be frustrated. Somebody snaps at me and I snap at them. I'm going to get frustrated when people cut me off. You know what I mean? I'm going to be frustrated when I'm stuck in traffic. And that's going to be my natural thinking. Like, I'm going to naturally do that. Like, I'm not naturally a grateful person. It's like, my personal experience is we have to be super intentional about our relationship with God, and we have to be super intentional about prayer, and we have to be super intentional about gratitude. It's not something that's just going to come naturally. It's something that we have to not only choose to do as far as a feeling goes, but then it's like we have to follow it up with actions. It's like, when I personally start my day today, like, and I've noticed a huge difference when I do this, it's like, I will pray to be a blessing at work. Like, I want to be I want to be the vessel, the tool that God uses to bless my boss. And so what that looks like is, I pray that, like, man, God, please help me to be the employee, the blessing that my coworkers and my boss deserve. Please help me to be an asset, right? And it's like, I'll be at work, and it's like, so I'm going to get there early. And that's like, I'm going to be super obedient, you know what I mean? And I'm going to get all of these opportunities to follow that up with action. And it's like, if I'm not in that kind of prayer, I'm not going to be as quick to pick up a broom when things are slow, you know what I mean? And in the trade that I'm in right now, it's like, I don't know if you're a lot of experience with construction, but it's like, nobody really picks up a broom. It's like, nobody's going to sweep, you know, at a construction site. But and you'd think that kind of stuff is pointless, but you'd be surprised how much impact every decision has on your future. It's like, everything that you do matters. Everything that you pray matters. Everything that you say to yourself and the people around you matter. And if you don't take that time to start talking to yourself and speak life into your situation and tell the people around you who you are, life is going to tell you, you know what I mean? And it's not going to be the life that you want, because you're going to complain, you're going to get frustrated, and these things are going to lead you to having the life that you don't want to have. But it's like, if you wake up in the morning and say, God, help me to be amazing, help me to be the blessing to the people around me, and you start following that up with action, and you're grabbing the broom, you're sweeping at work, and it's like, you'd be surprised how much happier you feel when you actually live out that gratitude and you live out that prayer, and you become that blessing to the people around you. And it really transforms not just your life and your external circumstances, but it transforms you, you know what I mean? And you'll just feel absolutely incredible and amazing almost all of the time, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's the prayer and the following up your prayer with that action is absolutely life-changing. It's been one of the most powerful tools in my spiritual kit. The prayer of today is the foundation upon which tomorrow is built. For tomorrow is sooner than you think. You know, a lot of us think that tomorrow is somewhere off in the distance, right? Like, we're gonna go to school, we're gonna level up, we're gonna get that career tomorrow, somewhere off in the future. Like, when I have the time, I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow. I'm gonna go to the gym when I have time, when I have the money. Like, when all of these great plans and the attainable things that we want to do with our life, or whatever it is that we want to do, it's like, I'll do it when I'm ready, I'll do it tomorrow. But it's like, tomorrow's sooner than you think. Tomorrow is not in the days ahead, but it's in the hard-fought battle of today, right here, right now. And prayer for the willingness and the strength to carry out those hard decisions of today is a pivotal decision and tool on whether or not you win. You know what I mean? You're not fighting time, you're not fighting money, you're not fighting the people around you, you're fighting that inner battle. And if you win the battle on the inside, I promise you that you'll win the battle on the outside. I hope that this message speaks to you. You know, just a couple of examples of how you, it's like the gratitude list. I mean, really take your gratitude list and morning prayer seriously. Don't just pray some general prayers of like, God, let your will be done. You know, you can do that, but it's not going to be as effective as providing some more concrete examples of how you could actually do that. It's a start, but it's like, God, help me to be that employee that picks up the broom. God, when these opportunities to be of service and to shine and to stand out present themselves throughout the day, because they're going to, please reveal those to me and help me capitalize on all of those amazing opportunities to reveal your heart and your character and your love to the people around me. You know, just pray prayers like that. Get specific. Pray for God to provide you for opportunities to be of service to society, to others, to your boss, you know, and really cultivate that mindset, because that's what prayer does. Prayer is all about molding our minds and our hearts, and you want to be molded in the mind and the heart of victory. You know, don't pray your way into a victim mindset through complaining, through being irritable. Like, take control of today and pray your way to a better tomorrow by aligning your will and your life over with God's. You know what I mean? And cultivate a victory mindset of positivity and gratitude. Pray prayers of thanksgiving, pray prayers of gratitude, do your gratitude list. And it's like, be in prayer always, because you're always praying and you're always building something. The question is not who you're praying to, but the question is, or where you're going. It's like, the question is, you know, what kind of tomorrow are you praying? You know, what are you building today? Because whatever you're building today, whatever you're praying today, right here, right now, it's like, that's what your future is going to look like. And I pray that it's going to be a good one, and I pray that you build it on Jesus. Thank you for listening to this message. I hope it spoke to you. I hope it was insightful. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think, and if you have any other insight on prayer, or what you think prayer is, or how we should be praying, please let me know in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks. Bye.